Listen, son, to all the sons out there. You can be anything you want to be. Keep God first and love yourself, love your family, and chase your dreams. Welcome to the Listen, Son podcast.
All right. It is Super Bowl Sunday. A couple of us a little bitter about the teams that are in there, but we're going to highlight, definitely the Buccaneer staff, man, and what they have put together under Bruce Arians. Just wishing luck to Byron Leftwich, Larry Foote, who I was actually in Tampa with at the NCAA NFL Coaches Academy back a couple years ago. Lori Locust, who works with the assistant D-line coach. I see they got Antoine Randall on there. This is a good staff put together, man. We're just gonna root them success. Hopefully they come out with the trophy. It looks pretty good. So that's the way we wanted to introduce that nice group of looking staff members. And if you made it this far, then you are on the Listen Son podcast. So welcome. All right. The people that are here right now, of course, you got my dad, Mike Bond Sr., right there. All right. You got my bro, Randy Hogan, Coach Randy. All right.
What up, though?
Yes. And then the guest. This is going to be a good treat. All right. You got my cousin, Terry Malone, and his son, Terrell. There we go. All right. So before we get started, before my dad brings us in here, please, take time out to really listen to the episode, really dive into the content. It's going to be helpful for some young men that you work with, you mentor, help them grow as individuals, and then just share the content, like, subscribe, and get somebody who really needs to hear this stuff to hear it. And that's all we ask. Free game. So Pops, go ahead, man, because we're going to need a whole hour for this, or 45 minutes. Well, we're going to need the whole time, because it's going to be some good stuff.
Terry, a couple questions for you.
Sir.
I want. How did you feel as a young man having a son and introducing him to sports?
Wow. Well, I jokingly say that a father don't learn how to love until he have a daughter, because growing up the way we did, in the TNT crew for the NBA would joke about the mean streets of Milwaukee. They joke about that, but I actually grew up, in those mean streets. For having a boy, I wanted them to be tough. But the choices that we made in terms of having them live in suburbia, didn't grow up in the inner city, like I did. Some of those life skills, I'd say, they didn't need to really tap into because they wasn't really put into those situations. But team sports, on the other hand, they had many more opportunities than I did. For instance, I thought my passion really was basketball, but shout out to the Project Warning League in Milwaukee. My parents didn't have the money to put me in, Warning. So a lot of those legends that I kind of grew up idolizing went on and did their thing in basketball. And quickly, when I got to high school, I realized that I didn't have that skill set like that. But anyway, to answer your question, having boys, being able to put them in youth football, like I couldn't do AFY, the Athletes for Youth League. But from the time that Terrell and his big brother Tevin could hold a ball, I had a football in their hands. And when I had an opportunity to put them in flag and then tackle, I guess what grade were you in when you first played tackle? Second grade. I was elated, to be able to see them do the type of stuff that I wanted to be able to do at a young age. And I was proud to be able to, give them that opportunity.
That's good. Terrell,
go ahead.
Terrell, this question for you, man. How, we talked to a lot of young men that didn't have their dads in their life or supporting them in any things they want to do. How important has that been for you to have your dad right there supporting you?
It's been critical. It's been real critical. Just having that one person to be able to go to who's already been through it and who's trying to give you the tools necessary. I'm just thinking back, Coach Tony, Coach Ray, Coach Pierre. These are just some of the coaches that he was able to, put me under. Some of the trainers he was able to put me under. Going back to him talking about the different opportunities, having that one biggest cheerleader in your corner is absolutely pivotal growing up, I believe. And,
right.
Even though it may not be, your biological father, I feel like every young man needs that one, older male in his life to,
Absolutely.
Point in the right direction.
Yeah, that's right.
100%. 100%.
Yeah, that's powerful. Yeah. As far as sports, how did it help you? As far as growing up playing sports, how did it help you, Terrell?
Oh, honestly, I wouldn't have been able to play football in college if it wasn't for his, for his support and, his research skills, finding different, like I said, finding different trainers, finding different workouts. Even though he was a defensive player, he was still able to get me, good workouts as a running back to, set me up to be a step ahead of my competition, and I just feel like, like I said, without him, I wouldn't have been able to make it to college, I don't think I would have been able to do that.
Right. Terry, the backstory, man, how you grew up in the main streets of Milltown.
Mhm.
How did you end up in Houston?
Yeah, so my wife, Tasha, we got 26 years in it together now. She has a first cousin that was down here. And I actually had accepted a position in Waukesha in 2000 before we moved down here to Texas, like right around 9/11. And we were prepared to move back to Milwaukee. But her cousin was like, bro, you need to get out here and see something more than the Midwest. And so we came down. It was in the winter of 2000. And kind of like today, it was sunny, clear skies, and we barbecuing. And I got shorts on. And I'm like, man, I can do this. Yeah.
That will do it.
Yeah. So we came back. We came back that winter, and we had 3 consecutive months of record-breaking snow in Iowa. And I was like, man, this is the straw. You know what I'm saying? That Camelback got snapped. So
that will do it to you.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I started interviewing, throwing my name in a hat for different positions down here in Houston. And like I said, right around 9/11, I was in fact, the day of 9/11, I was given my 2-week resignation in Iowa. And, a week later, we was in Texas.
Wow. So did you do the same thing to your parents? Have them down there when it was winter time in your shorts? Explain that. How did you get them down there?
So I have been dripping. I have been dripping on them for a while, right? But I was able to get Tisha, my sister, the Williams, them to come down here because she actually had an opportunity to either move to Arizona or to come to Houston. And so I have been dripping on everybody, in the immediate family, to try to come down here so we can do that. But yeah, I always tried to time it up during the winter so moms and pops could be down here with us. And they could be like, man, this is what we missing. You know what I'm saying? This is what we could be doing. So yeah, there was a little method to my madness with that.
I got you. Okay.
Randy, you was gonna say something, man. Randy was gonna say something with the introduction of Milwaukee Mean Streets.
When you said Mean Streets in Milwaukee, so is this something that the kids, like, it's a running joke about it? Like they don't think it's...
Well, no. So my kids know what's up. It's just the national prognosticators like Shaq and Kenny and Charles Barkley and them.
Yeah.
That
I got
switch. I got mad love for Ernie, but he wasn't trying to time up his bus trips on the 30 or the 67
or the 22 or the 30 or the 60.
Yeah, so he wasn't getting jumped. You know what I'm saying, by the wrong cats.
Right.
But no, my kids recognize. They know.
Okay, no, I just I just wanted to make sure they understood this is what it really is. That's all. Yeah. But I'm sure you've already enlightened them to such consciousness about the city of Milwaukee.
For sure. Randy, and they got eyes.
I think the mic on you, Randy.
Oh yeah, okay. So while we on it then, man. Speaking of Mean Streets of Milwaukee, man. So, cuz you was one of those cousins, man. Like we talked about, kind of before we got to record, man. I grew up very close to you, under you, idolize you, all of that. I give you all of those flowers right now, man.
Appreciate it.
Really, really looked up to you growing up, man. And really proud of the man you become as a older, or I should say as a younger cousin, looking up to his older cousin, man. Like, you doing it because I love you. I appreciate you. I love to see what you're doing with your family, man.
Oh man, salute, love.
On that note, I think about, where my son is. He's 17 now, and like we've been talking about, he's trying to, find his way in the world, and he knows that high school is soon to come to an end here. He's not in his junior year. You know, we trying to, you know, get ahead of the game as much as you can with COVID. It's, you know, slowing down a lot. You know, we trying to stay ahead of the game and be proactive and look at what school. So now he's looking to come to school where you are. So I know we got family on this side that's down there. We also have on his mom's side, she has her mother, two of her sisters are down there now. So that makes me a little bit at ease knowing that he's wanting to go to school somewhere this far away, because I'm not yet able to leave Milwaukee myself. You know what I mean? Okay. Because of various reasons. Because I think about back in the day in the 90s, man, you was tearing it up at Marshall, you know, on both sides of the ball. I recall you know, games, you know, all the reporters being there, man, you get 100 yards rushing and you got on the other side, you know, so many interceptions and tackles. Like, hey, cuz your pops was a goon. You hear me? A beast on that field, man. I could only imagine, you know, going back to what he was saying about, you know, playing in the youth leagues that we had here in the city coming up. Big shout out to Michael McGee and all those guys that started Warning to get the guys something to do. And, you know, you guys didn't have to pay. Again, basketball, one of those things that, you know, you can get something like that popping. But, you know, football cost a little bit of money. So, you know, we didn't get that opportunity. But I can only imagine, man, what you could have done, you know, learning more about the game, you know, in an organized league at that age. You know what I mean? Coming all the way up like a Pop Warner. And then, you know, you would have been way advanced. And then, man, I could only imagine if you went to a school outside of the city. But it is what it is. But, you know, coming out of these main streets. Right. But coming out of these main streets, dude, you tore it up. Big shout out to Milwaukee Marshall and all those guys, man.
You know what's funny about that, Randy? I really didn't even care to play football. It was our other big cousin, Little, you know, Marshall Martin. Shout out to him. Yep. That got me into it. You know, we would play in the street, and you remember, I know you remember, that field between North Avenue and Meineke, where they were supposed to build freeways and connect it into Washington Park. Yeah.
Right.
Well, that became our baseball field. That became our football field. Everything over there. And so for me, I really thought that was going to be kind of the extent of my football, just whatever we did on the block. You know, it would be 41st versus 39th or 41st versus, you know, 40th, whatever. But then when I saw how Little and my boy Lamont was really going hard at it and they loved it, I'm like, well, shoot, I might as well do it until basketball season. But then the aggression that I kind of had on the basketball court didn't necessarily translate too well, you know what I'm saying, for being a cager. I wasn't going to be that guy, you know, so how could I use that energy, use that aggression? What better way to do it than playing football? You know, I wasn't going to wrestle like Little and them did because that conflicted with the hoop
with basketball season.
Right. Yeah, you know, so I played football, but I got to send a shout out, you know, to Coach Greg Lehman. You know, if I would have made better decisions, if I would have gone to Milwaukee, Washington instead of Marshall, and I got mad love, you know what I'm saying, for the Eagle Nation. But had I been a Pergolder, you know what I'm saying, things probably could have even ended up a whole lot better in terms of playing football. But, you know, God had a plan, obviously, for me. It worked out the way it did. I actually ended up joining some Pergolders at the University of Northern Iowa, which, you know, Tony Taylor, who was an all-conference DB and running back with Dexter Liggins, and, man, who else did they have? Just some crazy weapons at Washington back in the day. I ended up choosing to go there because of them cats. But
like Daryl Carter and
well, you know, I ran track against DC and I played, you know, football against him. He was a hurdler. I ran the quarter mile, but in them relays we kind of, you know, tangled there. But with him playing tight end and me playing DB, I did go up against him there, and he was a safety and I was in the backfield, you know, so I'm sure he touched me a couple times on deep while he was on the defensive side. But But yeah, man, I think about that a lot. Like, what would have happened? Because I used to, on a QT, call Coach Lehman and talk to him about stuff. And, you know, Mike Martin coaching over there.
Right.
And it's like, hey, Terry, why don't you transfer to your neighborhood school? Well, I couldn't lose my eligibility. You know what I'm saying? I didn't want to lose my eligibility in track. I definitely wasn't going to lose my eligibility in football. But if I would have gone there too, bad things would have happened, you know, because of the choices that I made in middle school, who I aligned myself with. And again, you know, just young, dumb, and
mean streets of Milwaukee, man.
Yeah. So I couldn't go to Wash House.
Right.
Randy was telling me before we got on here about, and we're gonna get you back in here, Terrell. Don't worry about it. We got you about the letters and stuff like that. And
so yeah, let me break that, bro. So like I was getting to, you know, I watched you tear it up at Marshall, man. And as a kid, you know, coming up behind you, I think while you were in high school, I was in middle school. And man, I would, you know, obviously I spent a lot of time over there with you on 41st. Man, I would go in your room and I mean, shoe boxes, bro, letters. Like I know nowadays, you know, kids, you know, bro, you as a college coach at the university, man, you in the recruiting, you know, these young men. I would recall cuz getting all these letters, man. I mean, shoe boxes of letters. And like I said, Isaiah is getting to that point where, you know, we trying to, you know, be proactive and figure out schools and, you know, where he want to be. He definitely want to get out of this cold weather as a baseball player. Definitely want to get back to the warm, the Sun Belt, like we had, you know, that weather like we had in AZ. He want to get down there to Texas. Talk to me about your decision in choosing University of Northern Iowa. I got a chance to come up there and, you know, see you play in the Dome, and man, I seen you hold it down at the collegiate level too. So I mean, I got a chance to see, you know, some of your coaching staff and the guys you played with. The competition you played against, you know, talk to us about that decision, you know, that you had to make at that age, you know, where am I going at the next level? And then let's talk about your experience with taking what you learned and what you went through and helping your son, you know, make these same decisions.
So I'll start in reverse order. I think I kind of did a disservice to him because of the experiences that I had. I just assumed that it was kind of a rite of passage that, you know, I got to play Division I college football. You know, my boys are going to play Division I college football too. But, you know, I sucked at baseball. You know, the cats on the block, I was like always one of the last ones to get picked. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because I'm out here trying to switch hit. You know what I'm saying? When somebody pitched with their right hand, I'm in the back left hand. They're like, no, Terry, you finna strike out, dog.
And you never played at Beckham, did you?
No, my mom and them couldn't afford to put me in Beckham Stapleton, you know. So
I know Little played a little bit down there. I didn't know if you did.
Oh yeah.
Okay. I know we played in the hood. I know we played in the hood in that field. I know the field you're talking about behind it used to be SNA.
It used to be SA.
Yeah. But go ahead.
But no, because I actually had a lot of college teammates that are coaching at all levels. You know, one was actually coaching in the NFC's championship game. AFC championship game. One of my old college teammates is the wide receiver coach with the Chicago Bears. And so a lot of guys that I played with and against have gone on, and that kind of helped my network. You know, when it came time for my boys, it's like, hey man, can you take a look at my son's tape? Tell me what you think. Realistically, can he play at this level? Well, maybe not at this level, but I know some coaches that would love to get to know your son, you know? And so when he went to Grandview, NAIA school in Des Moines, Iowa, it was actually one of my old college teammates who actually played basketball. He saw one of Terrell's videos on social media, and I really haven't been active on social media in the last few years, but he was like, hey man, let's get your son up here so he can meet my dad and his coaching staff. And so it really helped. And we were talking about it before the broadcast, I kind of set unrealistic expectations for Tevin and for Terrell. You know, if I could rewind, which I can't, I would have put Tevin in baseball. You know, his change of direction, he would have been good. You know, even this cat, you know, I would have put him in baseball, give him a shot. But because I wasn't real good at it and didn't excel, I just figured, well, they won't either. So we ain't even fool with it. But I love track. They hated track, but they did it just because. I'm like, y'all got to run track.
Spring,
But
they would have loved baseball. Oh,
that's what I'm saying.
no,
that's
I
what
ain't
I'm
gonna do
saying.
it.
You
I'm
know,
just
so
kidding.
I think I did them a disservice. But with
Can I
respect to
give
me,
you a break? Can I give you a break real quick? Hold your thought. Do you, because
Okay.
you gave your dad some coins earlier. Do you feel that way, Terrell?
Do I feel that he did me a disservice?
Or that, that his expectations, was too high, or did you feel pressure from your dad at times and you just didn't know how to communicate it? What, where you at with that? Hearing him say that now.
I wouldn't say that he did a disservice. I would say that, he was very adamant in regards to, pushing us towards football. But then again, in his defense, he did ask us, I remember you asked me, is this really what you want to do? And I told you, yeah, it is. And, there were days where, I didn't want to do anything. I just wanted to, relax, play the game, be lazy. But, he would become knocking on the door like, hey, come on, let's go. It's time to go work out. I try to find excuses, try to hide in the bathroom, try to do anything to get out of it. But, he kept pushing me. And, especially, my freshman year going into my sophomore year, that was really the turnaround point where, where I really started falling more in love with the game for myself, as opposed to, just like, well, it just gave me to spend time with my dad, instead of that, it was more so, all right, this is going to help set me up for, a more successful future. And plus, I like, I love playing running back, asserting my dominance over somebody else. It's a good feeling, when you run somebody over and, just, be that dude.
Because I definitely feel like it's a fine, and I'm going to let Cuz get back in there and finish his story, but I feel like it's a fine line for young men with, chasing what you want to do in your passion, but understanding you're going to need guidance to get there sometimes. And, it's going to come from your dad as that push, I think it's a fine line sometimes. I don't know if you agree with that too.
Well, I appreciate that catch, Jay. Again, kind of just assessing myself. Most times I think I am my own worst critic, and I don't want to be that dude to pat myself on the back, and I'll never be that dude. But to your point, Terrell, I think some of the sweetest memories that I have hanging with you and Tevin is running them hills, getting in the swimming pool and doing workouts, going to the gym and doing that type stuff. So those are experiences that we kind of forged in the fire. And I guess if I had not been so stubborn and belligerent in that regard, we might not have made those memories. Y'all probably was hating me and hating life because of the workouts. But yeah. I was enjoying looking and seeing my boys do their thing, But yeah, so that, to answer your question, cuz I think that really helped me get a leg up on some of the other kids and their fathers, because everybody was like, D1 this, D1 that. But it's like, hey, man, Concordia St. Paul money is just as green as University of Texas at Austin. Don't never look a gift horse in the mouth. If somebody talking about giving you some free money to play a little boy's game and get your education, it's a win-win.
And regardless of the sport, man, I obviously I'm an adamant baseball, an advocate for baseball, but regardless of the sport, you took them through a manhood process. You know what I mean? Physically, mentally, like you said, running those hills outside of your house. I seen you look over, so now I'm looking over too. But but you know what I mean? You running those hills, man. It's a process. Just like I think back when you brought up Coach Lehman. That was my high school coach at Washington, and it was really regardless of the sport, when you get involved in athletics as a whole, man, it's something that teaches you so much about yourself. You know what I mean? And it teaches you so much about what you're gonna need as a man after high school. You know what I mean? When I went to the Marine Corps, I'm like, oh, this is easy, bro. Lehman yelled at us. We ran. We did this. We did that. Like, this is cool. I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but yeah.
And even when you don't even realize that you get in school and learning lessons, when it comes time for you to make a withdrawal, them deposits is already in. They those lessons have already been instilled. So hopefully, whatever his next stage of life is and his growth and development, he'll be able to tap in, to that reservoir. And, the old saying is the cream rise, so when you get your chance, you know, do your thing. I think with the second part of the question, now I'm finna go into my old Al Bundy mode, you know. When you talk about this dude, you don't know who Al Bundy is, do you? Yeah, Love and Marriage. It was an old sitcom with this dude.
Married with Children.
Married with Children. I said Love and Marriage. Married with Children.
Yeah,
he was a shoe salesman. But he always talked about that one high school game where he had 5 touchdowns.
Oh, you're like Uncle Rico.
Hey, he was Uncle Rico before Uncle Rico was Uncle Rico.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, nah, man, them those you talk about them letters. I remember the day after I signed with UNI. It was raining, and you know, Granddaddy had just passed. And I had expectations about where I was gonna go, what I was gonna do. And I felt like if I could have come out my junior year in high school, I could have gone to any school, you know, north of the Mason-Dixon line, right? But I ended up getting injured, you know, my senior year and didn't have the kind of numbers that college coaches was expecting. And so
it was an ankle, right?
It was my ankle. Yep, you remember. And so I ended up missing like 4 games. But I still had a productive, you know, what I would consider a productive senior year in high school. But I
cried low key as a kid. I remember. I know it was your ankle because I cried because you couldn't play. I ain't gonna lie, bro.
It was kind of like a Boobie Miles moment.
Oh, bro.
Hey, listen.
Because hold on, cause I'm trying not to break down now. As a kid, I was hurt. I was like, no, not because. I'm like, cuz about to make it.
You from Midland?
Hey, that neat. But man, listen, and the dude, we had Donald Wilson was our fullback at Marshall, and I was the right halfback. We ran that wing T, and it was a belly option play where Jason Fryer, our quarterback, was going to either give the ball to Donald and or keep it. You know, so it wasn't a run pass option; it was just a run option. Well, he ended up giving it to Donald. And we were playing Bayview.
Layman had us run that play. I know that play.
Oh no, it's scary. It's scary for a halfback when that lane open, when the tackle and the tight end block down and that guard kick out, and all you see in front of you is that big linebacker. It's like, hey, you know, it's time to let your scrotum drop, you know, and hit the dude and do what you do. Well, it was a cat that I went to Highmount with. Of all people, his name was Dan. I can't remember him, man. But we used to call him Midnight in elementary school because he was just like jet black. We called him Midnight. And so me and Dan hit in the hole, and Dan was probably about 240. You know, I'm about 185, and Donald Wilson was like 240. And so Donald is running up into my back, and I'm trying to take Dan this way, and Dan is coming at me like this. And I ended up with that hairline fracture in my left ankle and couldn't put no weight on it, you know, for like 2 weeks. But the week before that, we played Reedsburg, who was ranked number 5 in the state in Division III at that time. And Marshall, you know, we was D2. Washington was D1. Well, I hit them up for 220 some yards, had a kickoff, and had a pick against them. We played Bayview the next week. And I'm done. And then the following week, we played Mayville. And Mayville was Division 4, I think. And they had been to the state championship. Or no, it wasn't Mayville. It was the Monroe Cheesemakers. The Monroe Cheesemakers. We had like Murderers Row before we got into the city conference. Anyway, I'm rambling at this point, fellas. But couldn't play them games, man. We ended up, you know, losing real bad. Didn't make the playoffs. We lost to Vincent. We lost to King. And we hadn't lost to them in forever, you know. So you look up in the stands at Pulaski, or you look up in the stands at Custer, and you see all the old heads, the cats that came before you, and they like shaking their head like, dog, y'all lost to these much. So it wasn't a worse, more deflating feeling. But after I had signed with Northern Iowa, you know, like actually before.
Wait, cuz before you get to Northern Iowa, the injury.
Yeah,
that if I'm wrong, correct me. I mean, that played obviously some type of effect on, because I remember the flow of letters changed.
Yeah, and that's actually what I was going to get to. That's actually what I was finna
Okay.
get to.
Okay.
One, after that, I remember, coaches from Michigan State, coaches from Iowa, coaches from Penn State, coming.
And this dude was getting letters from everybody. The Army, Navy,
Listen,
Notre Dame, Michigan,
yeah,
Michigan
at
State,
this time, yeah,
Wisconsin.
Notre Dame. Yeah, the highlight of my recruiting, trip was when I got to go with my parents and take that picture in front of Touchdown Jesus at Notre Dame. And like I said, this was my junior year, my rising senior year. And, taking them trips, man, visiting them schools, having handwritten postcards, it's great to be a Hawkeye, or, fight Gophers. It was humbling, but I was sitting, I would think, when I watch these cats on TV, like, man, do good stuff like this happen to me? Can something like this happen to me? Because I thought it was just like for somebody from some other block,
like the program, like the movie, The Program or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like you were saying, Randy, the letters, they started changing, and the phone calls stopped. And now I'm hearing from all these my boys at Marshall used to rib on me like, dog, who is all these directional schools like Eastern Michigan and Northern Iowa? Like, dog, who is these people? And so I felt some kind of way. Yeah, they was like, man, who Western Michigan? Where is that?
Bro said directional schools.
Yeah, Northern Arizona, man. Who is these people?
Oh man.
But the thing that kind of sealed the deal for me, Baba I had left. I don't know where I went, but I came home and Baba had said, hey, some coach from Iowa had called you. And so I'm thinking it's Bobby Elliott, the defensive back coach who had been recruiting me from the Hawkeyes before. And like I said, he would come to my basketball games, track meets, whatever. And so I called him. I was like, hey, Coach E, it's Terrence Malone, Milwaukee. He was like, yeah, how can I help you? And it was, I just paused. I remember I paused like that. And I was like, well, my sister said you called. I was just calling you back. He's like, wasn't me. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, and I'm just fumbling like that, stuttering, didn't know what to say. And I was like, well, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to bother you, sir. He was like, okay, take care. And that was that. And I'm like, who in the world is this? So I ended up getting another phone call from that same coach who had called, and it was Mark Farley from the University of Northern Iowa. And he was like, oh, yeah, that was me who called. He was like, would it be okay for me to stop by, Marshall High School and come talk to you? And I'm like, yeah, sure. So he ended up coming.
Before
I
cell phones, before text messaging. I'm just listening. I'm just listening to this. Like, yeah.
So
that grind.
Yeah. So he actually came to 16th. We were on 16th and Burleigh, and we were across the street over at Chili and Granddaddy's. And Coach Farley walked in, and he was, telling me about the school, and he was like, "Hey, we got several guys from Milwaukee on our team, And I was like, at first, like kind of blowing him off, like, man, well, Coach Elliott from Iowa, you know him? He's like, yeah, he said, and I line my linebackers up against his any day of the week, and we smoke the Hawkeyes. And I'm like, man, that's kind of bold talk,
Right.
And I'm like, well, what about Coach Kelly at Notre Dame? He was like, I don't think Notre Dame's gonna come calling for you anymore, son. And I was like, he said that to me in my grandmama's house. I'm like, what? I'm like, you know who I am. You know who you're talking to.
Right.
And it was real humbling. And so he said, listen, he said, you can go to any of these other schools. He's like, I can tell you the talk on you is Mid-American Conference type school or 1AA, which now I guess what they FBS versus FCS. I don't know who's
FCS
who,
now. It's FCS now.
Okay.
So we were, he knows.
Yeah. So we were 1AA back then. And he said, you can choose to go to a 1A school and never play in a bowl game, or you can come play 1AA and compete for a national championship and play for NFL scouts every week. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so I chose to go to UNI. I had actually committed to Eastern Michigan, which was just, like 10, 15 minutes from Ann Arbor. But I had too much fun. I'll just say that. I had way too much fun on my recruiting trip at Eastern Michigan. And I said, man, if I go here, I'll flunk out and I'll be back in Milwaukee in no time. And Northern Iowa had the dome, you know. And what's so funny about that? My senior year at UNI, we ended up playing 2 schools from the MAC that was recruiting me, and Eastern Michigan was one of them, and we walked them, you know. So I definitely felt like we made the right choice to go to UNI. And had I not gone there, I wouldn't have met my bride. Yeah. This cat wouldn't be here, you know, his siblings, whatnot. So
dope decision.
I feel like I made the right choice.
Dope decision.
And you know
what? It
all
worked in God's plan.
You kind of shortchanged this. I think you shortchanged the story a little bit, because I actually asked you one time, how did you and I come about? And there's some couple things I want to bring my dad and Terrell in the talks too, and Randy too. But you told me you chose them because that was around the time when, like you said, Granddaddy was passing, and you just saw the compassion from that coaching staff more than others.
Yeah. And I'll make this real quick. Coach Ernfield, who was the offensive line coach at Eastern Michigan, it was a dude named Lamont Mitchell out of Jersey. He was a corner, and then myself. And he said, because he was a Jersey guy himself, and he was like, you know, if we get you and Lamont Mitchell in our secondary, we'll go back to the Las Vegas Bowl. And, you know, so he connected me and Lamont Mitchell, and we actually would call each other on the phone. Lamont Mitchell ended up going to Temple, and I ended up going to Northern Iowa. The rest is history. But the day that we, you know, was supposed to put Granddaddy in the ground, but, you know, the weather was crazy. The ground was frozen. We couldn't even put him in the ground. Coach Ernfield called me at Grandmama and Granddaddy and them house. And I had asked him the week before kind of to just back off, all the coaches to kind of just back off and let me be with my family. You know, the patriarch of our family is gone. And I wanted that time. Well, Coach Ernfield thought he was being compassionate, and he called that day anyway. And now looking back, I kind of don't appreciate what I, as an older man, and I'm not an old man by any stretch of the imagination, but as an older man looking back, he really was just showing compassion. And, you know, I can't fault the dude for it, because he was trying to build that relationship and keep that rapport going. But I literally was on the phone in the dining room, and I was just sliding. I literally felt myself sliding down while he was talking. And I was like, will this man shut up? Dude, my grandfather is gone. You still talking? Why are you on my phone? And so it was after that I had made the decision to sign with UNI. So good recall, Jay. That's
because
that really sealed the deal too.
You know, I'm gonna remember that, and I want to ask Terrell. I don't know if my dad, I don't know, Pops, and Randy. I think you're gonna come across this with Isaiah. That recruiting process is to me, it's difficult than planning the season. Then when you get there, because you got to connect all these personalities, you got to talk to all these coaches, you got to see them interested, engaged. You know, I wonder, Terrell, did you feel kind of like stressed out during the recruitment process? You know, with schools? Or
yeah, let's talk about your process, man.
Yeah, I felt overwhelmed at first, honestly. You know, I got my first offer from the school I ended up signing with, Grandview, the day of my senior year, the day we lost in the first round of Friendswood. I remember it was during third period, aquatic sciences. You know, I was sitting right next to Nico, and I remember Coach Flynn texted me, and I remember sending them the film a couple of weeks prior, but I didn't expect to hear anything from them. Because long story short, at the beginning of the season, I kind of had a similar injury that my pops had. I messed up my ankle. Somebody tackled me, and the same way I broke my ankle in middle school, somebody just tackled me and they just dropped and rolled into it. And, this during a scrimmage, and, it was supposed to be my year, it was my senior year. I was thinking, all right, this is my breakout year. I've been, playing since the sophomore. I was, as a sophomore, I was pushing somebody who was committed to go to U of H as a running back. And, I was thinking it's my year. But anyways, I remember Coach Flynn texted me and offered me. And, I was just confused at first because my senior year, like I said, I didn't really play. Me and my position coach, we kind of got into it, and, let bygones be bygones. But, I was very overwhelmed. And then after that offer came in, more and more schools started, telling me, hey, we have money for you. We would like you to come play. And I was just overwhelmed. And luckily I had somebody with me who'd been through the entire process before, and he was able to, really point me in the right direction. And even though I signed with Grandview, I wouldn't take it back for anything. We won our conference. I have a ring. I wouldn't trade that for anything. I still kind of think I would have been a better fit at Concordia, just for the school environment, because like he said, he had too much fun on his recruiting visit. My freshman year of school, I had way too much fun, I had too much fun. And, it kind of set me back a little bit with the poor choices I made there.
Yeah.
And, just in hindsight, I feel like Concordia would have been a much better fit for me. But,
Concordia, Nebraska, right?
Concordia, Nebraska, yeah. I forgot what city they were in.
Seward.
Seward.
There was, they were 40 minutes from Lincoln, 40 minutes from the University of Nebraska.
Yeah.
Dad, did you ever feel that? Did you feel like the process was overwhelming for myself?
Who, me?
Yeah. Did you ever sense that?
Yeah. I felt that Terry and Terrell. I felt that it was becoming too much for him. Because he was a lot of people. I think in a Catch-22 case, see, they were hiding some of Jay Letters too, Terry.
Mm.
We went to Whitewater, and I have been telling him this, man. I've been telling him this along, but he still was getting recruited. But we went to Whitewater, man, and they had us in there, man, probably for a couple hours trying to recruit him.
Mm-hmm.
And so, the coaches are saying, who runs that program over there at Tech? We've been trying to get hold of you, early on. And so we're looking at each other, and they said, well, we tried 2 or 3 attempts to try to contact you, but nobody never got back to us.
Wow.
So MJ's looking at me, and I'm like looking at him. That's what I've been trying to tell you, son. So by that time, Whitewater had got in there late. So I think he didn't tell me, but his mind was already made up. So they trying to really get him to commit at that moment. So I think it was between you and some young man at Illinois or something.
Yeah, I think so. And I want to rewind it because for me being a dual sport athlete, you want to finish. Okay, football is over, but now I feel like we got unfinished business for basketball. The whole time, these coaches got deadlines that they got to make. They got people they got to assign and things like that. So I was just trying to enjoy basketball season, but then they put you on the clock. We need 2 weeks to know, otherwise we're going with somebody else. And it's a quick turnaround between being hungry and wanting that first offer, like Terrell said, and then when them 3 or 4 come, the process just get overwhelming. And I look at my phone like I'm, Coach Walter, I'm sorry, we podcasting right now, but I look at my phone like I'm doing right now and not answer. I promise you, I was like, I just don't want to talk right now. So I guess to bring this all wrap around, because Isaiah's finna go through it, and I know a couple other young men are gonna go through it, who are looking at the class of 2001 who just signed this week. They're looking at the Instagram, the Twitter, and seeing all these kids sign and balloons everywhere and hats. But what would be the advice that anybody on this call got for them to say, don't let it get overwhelming. Take your time, really fill out schools, find the right fit. What would that be like? Because it's going to be a quick turnaround between that first offer and when the other ones come.
Man, I'm gonna respond to that, and y'all forgive me if I'm like monopolizing the conversation. But Unc, I want to ask you, and Jay, I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna answer that question. But I think we're gonna not drop names to protect, saying the innocent. But the coach at Tech at the time, initial K.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Okay. So after y'all made that trip to Whitewater, what was your conversation like with him and the other coaches going forward? Or did you have conversations with him and call him out on that?
Never had conversations with him. He was the football and basketball coach at the time of my. Right. See, he wasn't my coach for football my senior year. I think he might have been gone after my junior year for some other stuff that won't be discussed on the podcast. That his name was mentioned for it. I won't, because I'm in the coaching profession, so I won't. No matter what I feel like he did to me, I won't throw him under the bus. Gotcha. So I never had that conversation with him. And I think I think this happened a lot with city schools because it's a lot of turnover with coaches and ADs. So I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt, but I also think we played Riverside. It was a big game my junior year. Pops will remember this. Randy probably remember. It was outside of Pulaski Stadium. I'm talking about this was the biggest game that I ever played in. Nothing probably compared to Texas, but you get as many people as you had at Pulaski Stadium that year, it was crazy. And they had Jeffrey Bacon, who went to Army, you know, and we ended up winning the game. Don't get me wrong, we won the game. But Jeffrey Bacon ended up getting a reverse. He was a 6'3", 215-pound receiver. You know, stuff you just don't see from the city, really. He was good polished player. And he ran through our whole defense. And I was the last line of defense to get him on one play. And it looked like I didn't really want to tackle him. So he looked like his reputation to me was I was soft. You know, he told me that. He said, what was that soft, you know, stuff you tried to pull there? And my dad will remember this. My dad knows I thrive off motivation. You know, Randy probably knows this too. The next game I had a strip fumble recovery for a touchdown, and I had 2 interceptions against Bayview. The week after he called me out on that. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
His whole view of me was, you know, I was just a soft kid. You know, even some of the assistant coaches he had, they envied the relationship my dad had with one of the other coaches on staff, with myself. So I really didn't expect him, looking back now, to really sell me to anybody, you know, just to answer your question.
Wow.
Even though I didn't
Uncle Mike, so did you call him out after y'all made that trip, or did you just let it ride?
Well, see, I had called him out prior to that on some other stuff, and because he had done other young men wrong. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so I let that ride because you got to understand now it's basically here or there now. You know, we go in other avenues. I just wanted MJ to see what I was trying to tell him, and it came, you know, that he's seen it for himself.
Yeah, I didn't believe you.
Yeah, he just didn't believe that could be happening. So once he heard it, I really was done with it. I knew that conversations that I had with him, and they were about basketball players, and I told him personally that we're going to get a degree wherever we go. So I didn't really need to talk to him anymore because I told him education is first in my household. You know what I mean?
Right.
And MJ is going to a university. So with you or without you, he's going to the university. Right. But I was really upset about these young men that they really have their dads in their lives, anybody to speak up for them. And all they wanted was film, or all they wanted, you know, him to do is help them. And they were trying to go to junior college. And it makes sense to me that you're not trying to help these young men, and who else they gonna go to, man? You know, so we didn't see eye to eye, man, because like MJ said, I had some of his staff was good friends of mine. So, and once I spoke on that, Terry, I let that go. But I knew that we would be going somewhere else. I just wanted MJ to hear that for himself, you know.
And so, I didn't ask that to make the conversation go negative, but y'all heard when Terrell said he didn't play as much his senior year. He had been playing varsity, you know, as a sophomore, and then as a junior starting, he get injured. And I think another thing I might have made a mistake on was calling the coaches out. It's like every place that I've ever observed, people don't lose their position due to injury. You got to lose your position on the field by somebody outperforming. And so when I called them out and subsequently quit the booster club, that's when I think they took it out on him. So I was wondering if that happened to MJ, because you advocating for your son, doing what any man worth his salt would do. And I think I did it. I probably could have and should have been a little more tactful, because it ended up costing him. But they had 4 running backs that were seniors, and they switched everything up. Where before, you know, it wasn't a competition. They kind of just gift wrapped and gave it to the next man up. So here we thinking, okay, he averaging almost 7 yards a carry. He did the whole biding of his time thing. That okay, he's the next man up. So now all of a sudden they want to make it a competition. Well, of those 4 seniors that were running backs, he played the least, but he was the only one that had multiple scholarship offers, you know. So guy got the last laugh, you know, on that. But Terrell, I have to tell you this, man, as men growing up, you know, trying to, you know, raise your sons up to be the best they can be. We are protectors. You know what I mean? So when that happened to MJ, I don't regret it at all, man. I was really standing up for a lot of young men, but I knew hindsight that MJ was going to catch some of the wrath. You know what I'm saying? So, but I knew how he is, his personality, like he said, that he was going to fight through it and we were going to end up somewhere, you know, but I could not sit there and watch how he was mistreating these young men. I just couldn't do it.
You
And
know what I mean?
that's why a lot of young men don't want they uncles or dads or whoever is their, the person that, advocate for them to speak up, because they, you feel like it's going to be taken out on you. We don't really understand the other side of you, Terry and Randy, being father figures and being protectors like that. But that's where I appreciate Randy, though, for being a baseball coach and being with these young men, because I know he's going to do right. I know he's going to, and we need more. That's why the representation thing is so huge. In my eyes, you need good representation for players so that they can feel comfortable talking. They should feel comfortable talking to their coaches and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I do regret not taking you up on that offer now. If I knew it was going to turn out like that, I should have just came my butt to Texas.
Terry, I'm glad he brought that up, man. And I'm so proud of you, man. I'm so proud of you, man. But when you did offer that to us, and the offer MJ to come down there, man, it was a tough decision for me to do as a dad. You know what I mean? Understood. I'm a hands-on dad, but I understand where you was going with this, and I battle with it because I knew that it could have been a great thing down there for him. The way MJ played the game, and it was very similar to you, man, how you played it and your passion for the game. But I just, at that time of my life, and I know you would have took good care of him, man. I knew you would have, but it was just, at that time, I couldn't let it happen. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, two hands on of a father. I'm dealing with it right now.
Yeah. And I thank you, and I thank you for it. But I and go ahead, Randy. I love you for it, and really I do. It's just that at that time I wanted to be hands on, man.
And you know what? You made the absolute right choice, because, I just remember, when I would call Brian and talk to him, he'd be like, man, you missing something special. When he would talk about MJ and Carl and them and what they was doing, Little League and all, I'm like, man, I wish I could be there, cuz, you know what I'm saying, to be an assistant coach, you know what I'm saying, and watch and do what they do, or just to sit up in the stands and or on the sideline and watch them. But, I think back of that Arsenio Hall, strive to be number one. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
MJ, that everything that you've done, cuz you've done with excellence, and I'm proud of you. So the path was laid out. You blazed your own trail. You did it. I like bragging about, man, my little cousin was a part of an NFL player development, the next generation of coaches. It's like, while y'all sitting here toiling in the sun, my cousin is getting shine, getting exposure, to people like that, So, and then for me to see you in action when you came down here and worked, you made the right choice, and you are where you should be, and it's a great place.
I appreciate that. Yes, indeed. Let's take a pause just to give a shout out. We want to give a shout out to two businesses. Once again, More Kisses. If you look at Randy, you see you see the beard. More Kisses does good, some good stuff to keep your beard nice.
Good products. Good products. I'm still waiting for somebody to hit me up. I guess I hit her up for the IG, some pictures for IG or something.
I got you. And then we want to give a shout out to Shea Shoebox for the work that they do and the stuff that they got going on. Uncle Rick and Uncle Rick's daughter, Money's sister. So we just want to keep uplifting the stuff that's going on in our community and get other people that watch this to go support those businesses. So that's what we got right there. Anybody got anything that we just digested real quick? I didn't see because I got something else I want to bring up, but I'm making sure I ain't cut nobody else off.
Well, the question you asked, like with your nephews fixing to, crossover and close out high school, I brought that up, Randy, kind of as a preface, figuring out that fine line and that balance in that, being your son's cheerleader, being his protector, coming into his senior year. But, you catch more flies with honey than vinegar. I came with the vinegar rather than the sweet honey, and he suffered because of it. And Tevin even caught some of that too. So, man, learn from your cousin's mistakes, be there for your boys like you have been, and support their friends as much as you can. But just stay sweet when you do it. Don't go in with guns blazing.
No doubt.
Matter of fact, before we go into the next topic, I want to shout out your guy that you connected me with last year when we were together, man. His son just Alabama, I think they Glory Fitness, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Shout out that father-son combination. Jacoby and I forgot.
Yeah, Boykins.
The boy
Was it Boykins?
Yes.
Yeah, Cortland's father.
Yes.
Yeah, that brother, he played for the Indianapolis Colts.
Yes. Good. Yep. His son's
Hey,
going to Alabama, so that's another.
Oh, hey, so, cuz I do have to ask you. So, when we talking about the recruiting process, at least for Isaiah in baseball, at least right now, it's become kind of difficult with his sophomore season that was lost. We'll see.
You will see. You will see.
With junior season, what that'll be like. But you know, as I look out my windows and I see snow on the rooftops, man, I'm you know, he's in his junior year. Emmanuel is in his eighth grade. You know, now he wants to play football. Now, like you said, the quality of the schools, now they actually in the Tulsa school district here. So a little bit better, you know, education wise and safety, I guess you could say.
We ran shop out at Tulsa West and Tulsa East back in the day, but
back in the day,
I'm clouded.
They got so many resources. They got so many resources now, you know, in the suburbs, man. It's ridiculous. Obviously, Pops, we get to see that firsthand when we go there and watch Leon. But so all of that to say, man, you know, I gotta get them. You know, it's already a struggle here with baseball. Being a cold weather state, you know, you can't rely on high school baseball because scouts not coming here to really watch, you know, even the guys that's, you know, the guys that recruit and you know, I guess, you know, coach here and a lot of the schools in the state, man, they go recruit kids from warm weather states, you know, and they definitely not looking in the inner city at kids. So, you know, we got to get creative, man. And I've been really contemplating, you know, like I talked to you about, man, figuring out something where, you know, I had something set up where they could go back to Arizona, but now the boy is saying he want to go to Texas. So like you said, like, you know, try to be sweet about it. Okay. All right, cool. So he had his reasons why he want to go to Texas, and now I'm supporting it because I had my connects in AZ. At first it was like, this is what we doing, you know, you're going to be here in Milwaukee and everything, but I got connections in Arizona. We're gonna get you right, but you know he don't want to go back to Arizona. He want to go to Texas now. So I said, okay, cool. I found the good in it. We got family down there. Let's do it. I can connect, you know, with some coaches down there. However, I never been to Texas except driving through to go to Arizona. Now having y'all there brings a certain level of comfort, but I also know when you get to know me and know my conscious state of mind, I also know the type of, let's say, right-wing conservative, you know, I won't beat around the bush. I know that Texas is just a different ball game.
Yeah.
You know, state of Wisconsin, we kind of, when we go to tournaments around the state of Wisconsin, you know, we do our thing and we come back to the city. You know, when we looking at Texas, and I really want to get them into a school in Houston, but, you know, I'm scared, you know, if I say, well, we find something that's driving distance and now he trying to drive to get to Houston to get closer to family or his other interest in Houston, you know, he might have to drive through some of these places where, you know, like we see, you know, certain people in the news storming capitals. I know some of these people might even be so extreme to, you know, I keep it real, man. My son is now 5'10", 180, dark skin, dreadlock. You know, we went to
he's a threat.
He's a threat. This, you know, quote unquote threat. You know what I mean? This kid is, I mean, good, quiet kid, family oriented, plays baseball to himself. You know, I'm on him, you know, don't get the best of grades. You know, I feel like he could do better, but good kid. You know what I mean? He's not out here breaking in cars, carjacking nobody, selling dope, none of that. You know what I mean? We actually went to a visit. I won't say the school, but I will say that it was in Illinois. And, you know, one of the coaches, he come over by the kids and we, you know, putting everything in the bat bag and putting up his cleats and everything. And Isaiah went to shake the coach's hand and, you know, introduce himself. He grabbed one of Isaiah's dreadlocks and was like, "What is this?" And just kind of like, "Yeah, man. Yeah." Wow. So anyway, when you look at my background, you kind of see my personality in my background, you know.
Right.
So I got a very socially conscious mind. I'm terrified. My son is now saying he want to go to Texas. Now, not only will you be 1,800, 1,500 miles away from me, but now you in this huge state where I know it's a lot of people that don't like people that look like us. We just keep it real. How do I ease that fear? I don't even know if that's something that you can give I guess an answer that would really put me
Well,
at
let me
ease. Let me
take a
know,
stab at
man.
it. Yeah, let me take a stab at it.
This is, I guess, the fear of a black man in America, right?
Hey,
a black father.
It ain't paranoia. It's based on
facts,
experience and fact. And you right not to sleep on the fact that we are in Ruby Red, Texas, and but we got stuff in here to take down bears too. If
no doubt,
if they want to come with it. But it won't get to that point, I don't think. The thing that I share as a comfort to you, cuz at our old church, we supported a missionary that was a missionary to what they call closed access countries. He called them creative access countries. Mm-hmm. And he was at a church, or had a church in the middle of downtown Baghdad in Arabic and in English that said Jesus is Lord. And so he said this, Brother Dobb, he was like, you can be in the middle of a war zone, but if it's where the Lord wants you to be, you're going to be safer than if you were in your bedroom at home. And when he said that, I'm like, man, that gives me comfort, especially now considering, the career decision that Terrell is starting to lean towards, which I need him to rap with you about anyway. But I know that you remember our cousin Quincy Taylor, his oldest son, Lil Q. Mm-hmm. He went to some school outside of Dallas, and the coaches left him. He was a hooper. He was a bad boy in Arizona.
Mm-hmm. I was out in AZ with him. I got a chance to see him do his thing out there. Yeah, so, in high school. Yeah.
So our cousin Karen called his grandmother, and she was like, "Hey, my grandson is stranded. The coaches have left. He's on campus by himself, and the people on campus are saying you got to go." So we, Dallas is 4.5 hours from here. And it's like, nah, my Ken people ain't going to be stranded, So we drove up there and we got a little Q. He connected, with my kids. And I guess, now they stay in touch and whatnot. And so I can tell you that if he's in Texas, he ain't going to never be stranded as long as I got a whip, you know what I'm saying? And can put gas in my car.
I can attest to that. I can attest to that.
And so, man, between all of his family down here, he's gonna have to experience things by himself and become the man that he's gonna be.
Right.
But we will be a part of his extended support network to help him grow and set him up for success. So I say that to you, cuz, to try to put, to speak some peace to you. That, man, again, you could be in the middle of downtown Baghdad, and this was at the time when al-Zarqawi was going around, chopping heads. This dude had a church in downtown Baghdad where Jesus is Lord, and nothing ever happened.
I've been there, so I know that's
that's a bold statement. That's a real bold statement.
I understand that. Yeah.
So
man. So I feel you on that.
And we
definitely gonna chop it up. He definitely making it easier though. Actually, when I think about it, by saying he narrowing it down to I want to go to Texas. I specifically want to be close to Houston. Okay, so we'll see. Now I got to just get him on that radar. He's been up here in the Midwest, and we've been looking at HBCUs, but we got to really look JUCO at this point. Thanks for introducing me to that Hazelwood Act too, cuz.
Okay,
so definitely contemplating relocating him at this point. And Manny's starting to really get some size on him. I want to see how much heart he got, but we're getting a little bit closer and closer to letting him play football. So
like I said, if I would have given these cats a choice, I ain't even give them a choice. Maybe.
Man, look at this beautiful sunset behind y'all, man.
I see that. It's beautiful.
I'm jealous, bro.
I actually was gonna pull the shades down so that it wouldn't be blocking the view.
Hey,
jealous.
Hey, I see what you're doing, Terry. I see what you're doing, man. I see what you're doing. Hey, Terrell, just before MJ switch it up a little, what are you thinking about doing?
Hold on. Because that's just...
Oh, okay. I'm taking your job, son.
No, you did great. You did great, Pops. Because Terrell, I know it's serious. Don't get me wrong, but Darvan and Jordan, they jokesters. So they told us about you and Jordan hanging out, man. And first off, I want to say I'm proud of you for even stepping out on just on your interests, and you're doing it, finding something that you're passionate about and doing it. And I know you're gonna kill it, man, because you ain't gonna step into something that you ain't gonna give it your 100%. But I heard the story from Baby Cuz. Now he was clowning. So you gotta look. Randy don't even know. So you gotta tell us, man. You gotta tell us how this came about and just what you want to do with it. What you want to do. So
You talking about the studio session?
Oh man, Jordan clowned you about the studio.
You talking about the studio?
He clowned you about the studio.
Man, look. It's all good. Look, me and my boy Teddy, we went to the studio. And I was like, I'll bring my little cuz with me. And, it was my first time, really. It was really my first time going there. I brought my keyboard and everything. And, honestly, Jordan probably going to have to get his ears cleaned out or something because I think it sounded good. But,
hey, do you got some audio of you playing the piano?
I got a video of me playing.
Well, go ahead and
it's not from the studio.
Hey, send it later. Send
me the video. So
I text it.
When we edit this, we're gonna put it in there.
All right, yeah.
But no, listen, I will say this, man. I wasn't musically inclined or nothing like that, but Jasmine played the piano, Terrell played the piano, and Talia played the piano. Like they took lessons. And so I know how Jordan be trying to clown people. You know what I'm saying? So it couldn't have been that bad. In fact, I don't think it was bad. Jordan be capping. So, but
I'm gonna get Jordan back on here to tell the story. I want you to watch that episode, and you're gonna see how he told it. You're gonna see how he told it right now.
And so you gotta juxtapose while Jordan is talking and delivering his hate. Put Terrell's video on there so you can actually.
I got you.
But no, that was funny. That was funny.
Yeah.
He was like, "Hey, Jordan was like." Terrell told him, he's like, "You got to start somewhere, cuz." And Jordan was like, "But not here."
But not here. But how did that come about?
Man.
How did that come about, Terrell? And what are you trying to accomplish with music?
So actually, it's not really music that I was pursuing. That was just my boy Teddy. He knew I play piano, so he was just like, can you try to let's cook something up, try to see see what we can do. I mean, at the end of the day, I still got paid, and that's all that matters. Even though Jordan may be a hater and spread lies about my work.
I can't wait to hear this now. I can't wait to hear this because
my nephew is the funniest, man.
He is the funniest.
That is a funny dude.
But as a father, how because you kind of said that earlier, how are you going about supporting whatever, it's not sports, it's not always going to be sports at the end of the day. So how are you going about supporting? And all your kids.
But that's what all of the athletes need to understand though, bro, right? At some point, whatever level you play, at some point you're going to stop. Yeah. Right. So and this is what I'm constantly trying to find or get my boys to find. What are your interests outside of sports? Like, and because my thing is let's try to capitalize off of whatever you're passionate about in life. So you're not living a life of, you just doing something for somebody else, So but go ahead, cuz.
Oh, yeah, no. Yeah. I remember there was a campaign the NCAA was running a few years back that we all go on professional in something other than sports. Yeah. And they had all the, and Father Time is undefeated. We're not going to always be able to run, jump, and throw, do whatever that we did, shoot, because Father Time is undefeated, So the ship kind of done sailed with college athletics for him. And I'm fine with that. And so now really what I just want is for him to be productive and live a rich, full life. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to support him. I think the question was on the table. What is he, talking about doing? Even with having a new commander in chief, I feel a whole lot more comfortable with the things he's contemplating now. And so I could wholeheartedly, support him. Again, one of the things that I'm learning, and one of my Sunday school teachers said, with your kids, you can't expect perfection, but you gotta expect progress. And so I don't expect perfection from any of my kids because I wasn't perfect. And so now all I want to see is progress. With it, just want to see some progress.
Anybody that's got this far, who was going to say something? Dad,
I
was
was
you
gonna
go ahead,
tell
Pop.
Terry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna Terry, I was gonna tell you, man, and Randy too. You know, sometime in life, man, you said it. We want progress. You know, I'm gonna tell you a quick story. We went to Stout, man, for the visit. I tore the paperwork up. I tore it up. I said, I'm not coming back up here. My son not coming back up here. And that's because of what Randy says, is because I knew what Menominee is about. You know, so I wasn't open to it, but I had to listen to my son and do my research myself. And I even brought in another young man and that was going up there and picked his brain. And MJ was up there 6 years, and I was up there 6 years. So he got a 2 degrees up there. So we sometimes we do have to bag up, like I told you earlier, Terry. Pray about it, which Randy is talking to you about it, Terry, as far as letting his son go to Texas. Sometimes we gotta just sit back and let him go through things. And Randy, we already know, man, that you know he needs you. You'll be there. You know. So,
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. And we all, if we all have to cut, Terry already down there, but if we all got to get in, then we got to go. We got to check on him, you know. But sometimes I had to trust, man. I had to bag up, and that was his decision to go to Stout, University of Stout. So everything worked out. Everything worked out.
So if I know we tight on time, right?
Yeah.
Y'all, I know y'all Super Bowl. I don't even care about it, not even really about to watch it. All right. I only care about football when the Packers are involved.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my truth. But Terry, he stepped away. I wanted to know, and we could use it for that y'all want to talk about on the cast, because I think this is something that I don't think they can give you a promise as to like if you're a hospital corpsman, this is where you're gonna be stationed. Like, if anything, you know, go into it with your eyes open. As a hospital corpsman, you might not be somewhere like, in a clinic or, you know what I mean? Or somewhere in this cushy kind of environment, dog. As a hospital corpsman, bro, you can find yourself on the ground stumping with Marines, like on some hardcore, like, I don't want to offend your ears. I curse like a Marine, but dog, you will find yourself in the shit. You see what I'm saying? With Marines as a hospital corpsman, because when we go kicking indoors or we doing whatever we do as Marines, if one of us go down, poor man, because we don't have a Marine that is, like I said, a medic. Like, we all get, you know, first aid training, but we rely on you, the hospital corpsman, to come give me immediate first aid. Right. You see what I'm saying? That's why as soon as you said that, it was like, cuz automatic respect. You know what I'm saying? We're going, if that's where you looking. But I say this now, you said getting you want to go into nursing. That's what's up, right? Okay, another like you frontline, very much so needed. Obviously, as we know, in the time of COVID, it's other ways to get nursing school paid for. Yeah. So with that being said, take that as being your reason of going into it. Like, if that's your reason to like get schooling paid for as a recruiter, and this is, I did well as a recruiter because I would have conversations with people like this, as if you was my cousin, right? Anybody that's like, I would just keep it 100. Yeah. If that's your reason for joining the service, don't do it. Because there's other ways to get education paid for, especially like we talk about with this administration that's coming in. Mm-hmm. You see what I mean? It's gonna be ways to get schooling paid for. Like, this is part of the agenda, right? This administration to get schooling, especially for minorities, and especially in a field like that where more minorities are needed, especially males are needed in nursing, like, you know what I mean, or in the medical field as a whole, bro. You might end up parlaying that and become a black doctor, like, you know what I mean, physician. So regardless, you know, if that's one of your reasons, then cool. Because like I was just talking to your father, and I think your mom was on the line that day. My kids will be able to go to school for free now. Yeah. You know what I mean? So there are benefits, cuz don't get me wrong. I'm able to go to school for free. But don't let that be your I'm gonna do this because they're gonna, you know, like, that's gonna be a benefit after the sacrifice. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? So as long as you consciously know that, cool. And as long as you consciously know and understand a lot of our current events, stay abreast with current events always. Look at it on both sides, from the right and from the left. Because once you swearing swearing in, man, you
rap.
You know, yeah, you can have where your political interests kind of lie, you know what I mean, and where you would vote, you know, whether it be Republican, Democrat, Independent, whatever. But like you following orders, bro. At that point, like, you know what I mean. Where they tell you to go, you going. What they tell you to do, you doing. So with that, like I said, just, you know, I'm always as a military vet, like 13 years. You know, I'm nervous about any of my family and friends and the youth that I serve. Like, you know, I had a couple of the kids that I work with now that become men, and they like, hey, Coach Randy, man, I'm about to do this. And it's like, okay, why? Yeah. If you can tell me why, more than just, they gonna pay for school. And no, okay, you got to understand the sacrifice of what it takes to get that schooling paid for. Now you might be able to go in, do your time, and everything is just like, you know, some people, you know, especially like during certain administrations, like the Clinton administration, it wasn't that much going on, a lot behind the scenes more so, but it wasn't like these big conflicts that we have now, Iraq, Afghanistan, and who knows what we're gonna have next, if it's Russia, North Korea, well, I don't know, whatever. Yeah, man. Stay tuned, right? Stay tuned. It's probably somewhere that you don't hear about as much. But anyway,
you know what, Rand? I have been telling.
Just keep your eyes open. I really understand what you, man. You if your whole goal, like I said, is to just find something to get money for school, don't let the military do that. Now, if you say I want to do such and such, and they offer the fact that I can get schooling paid for, then cool. Because I'm telling you now, especially as a hospital corpsman, yeah, you gonna learn medical. You gonna learn first. You gonna learn, especially if you get put, you know, in the situations that I've seen and experienced. Mm-hmm. Those hospital corpsmen, yeah, they learn, bro. You know, yeah, and you know, they got the traumatic, you know, experience to go along with it. You know what I mean? So it's a lot there. If you want to tap in and talk about that some more, or actually, I know a few brothers that I can tap into with that were hospital corpsmen that can, you know, talk to you about what that's like. And I think, you know, some of them have gone on and now, you know, they're in the medical field. So okay, yeah. But if you talking about being a corpsman, bro, like, you know, hey, they was right when I talk about same uniform, doing the same training as Marines, like, I always had a hospital corpsman that was right there with us. And some that was, I mean, tougher than some of the Marines I served with. You know what I'm saying? Some that volunteered, like when they could have just sat back and watched us and then treated us if we got injured, like during training or something, they would hop in with us. Like, yeah, we doing it too. So it's a whole world with it. You know what I mean? So that's what's up, though.
Randy,
we'll definitely tap in.
It make me, it's a bittersweet kind of nervous kind of thing, man. But
well, if it'll put your mind to a little bit of rest. I'm sorry, MJ, I'll keep this real short. If to put your mind to a little bit of rest, the education is not the only reason that I'm joining. Okay. You know, education is not the only reason. It's the ultimate goal. You know, the ultimate goal, of course, is, you know, get that slip of paper to start my career. You know, to do what I love to do, what I feel like I would love to do. You know. But in addition to get the education, you know, like you said, the experience, you know, and even though, like you said, you know, there's a chance that I'll be put on the green side with the Marines, you know, there's also a chance that I'll be put on the clinical side as well.
Right.
You know? And if I'm put on the clinical side, you know, I was watching some videos of current corpsmen. They were telling the viewers and everything that, you know, basically it's like a hospital setting, you know, be it on a ship, a submarine, you know, some of the, like an IDC, you can be, you know, IDC, where you can basically be like a physician's assistant, you know, get that training and everything. And, you know, my thing is just trying to learn everything I can and get as much experience while I'm learning. So I'm not, because I'm, like I said, the decisions that I made at Grandview kind of set me back a couple of years, I feel. And I feel like this is, you know, a good opportunity to, you know, speed up the process of getting back ahead of the curve, you know, getting back to where I was, you know, if that makes sense.
No, that definitely makes sense.
But I have been telling him literally for years, you need to holler at your cousin Randy. You know what I'm saying? Because he was a recruiter, and he'll be able to tell you, oh no, they spitting game, or this is what's real.
Yeah.
And you know, being in the theater of war and seeing, you know, flesh ripped into and stuff, you need to holler at your kin people. And
yeah, man.
You know,
yeah, it's definitely benefits to service, but it's definitely gonna be some sacrifice, little cuz. And I hear you. I hear you when they, you know, you already using the jargon, green side, blue side. Like I hear you, but and they gonna make sure whatever I guess also whatever you take in is like non-biased info, right? Because a recruiter is gonna always show you what we would call, you know, the product information, right?
Yeah.
You know, and everything that we would show you, you know, listen.
Yeah.
Make always unbiased resources. You know what I mean? Somebody's gonna keep it real with you. Cause I mean, it can be dope. Don't get me wrong. Like, did I lose y'all? Don't get me wrong. It definitely dope experience. And like I said, you know, you can end up on the blue side where it's, you know, like you said, hospital setting, clinic setting. You can end up on that green side. But even on that blue side though, man, now you talking about being on a hospital ship or in the you know, on an aircraft carrier or in any submarine, whatever, you know, you can find yourself in a situation there too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So my whole point is realize that you know, job training, skills training, you know, going to see the different countries, like all of that is dope. But you are going into the military. You hear me? And you know, when they need, you know, you can end up in some of the worst situations. You know, just always remember that. You know what I mean? You can end up, you know, a lot of people go into it like, man, they showed me this and I can do this. Like, okay, just know, you know, sometimes it's gonna come with some sacrifice. You know, it's definitely gonna come with some sacrifice. You know, and just depending on where we are politically, and you know, you got to take all that stuff into account. Always pay attention, like I said, to those current events. And like I said, look at some of the past things that, you know, the previous administration may have gotten us into. So,
Man,
well, salute though, cuz somebody at the end of the day, what everybody got to realize too is that the selective service system is still in play. You know what I mean? Which what I'm saying is it's not an active draft, but as we see young men reach, you know, 18 years of age, and when you filling out, you know, certain paperwork, you know, they ask you about selective service, you know, it's still a real thing, you know, and basically what that's saying is, you know, they keeping tabs on everybody in case they have to do a draft. Right now we have what's called a all volunteer force, but if nobody is volunteering, then, you know, the federal government, if in need, will come knocking. So salute to you, because if you decide to make that happen, that's some real right there. That's some real, man.
Big salute.
Big step.
I want to tell viewers who are, you know, if you are trying to take that route, look at Randy and Darvan's first episode when they first talked about some of the stories that they shared about the military and things that they went through. And also, I don't know, you know, it might be guys like Terrell, you know, that want to learn more and want to get that unbiased recruiter standpoint and viewpoint. Man, Randy, you might have to do a Listen Son separate, you know, podcast meeting to kind of give them military like a workshop. You know?
Military.
Yeah, that'd be a good workshop.
Yeah.
But man, you know, if you've been listening this far, Terry, I was getting ready to bring my notebook out and my pen because he gave me so much nuggets when he was saying some of the verses and some of the things, the quotes that he, you know, got him through some stuff. I was getting ready to write them down. So you couldn't walk away from this time without really learning and understanding what the platform is all about, I think. And I just want to thank you guys for taking this time out to really stick with us and give us just, you know, an insight of who you are and where you guys are currently at. And you know this means you're going to have to come back because now we did the introduction part of learning about Terry and Terrell. Now we got to pick your brains about some content stuff that come up, you know, that fathers and sons find themselves in that position. So we always wrap it up a certain way, Terry. So I didn't tell you this because I want to keep it authentic and I want you to just, you know, say it from the heart. But you got to give a Listen Son message to all the sons out there, to your sons, just some brief nuggets that you want to drop on them real quick. You know, 30 seconds to a minute, whatever you got. But I'll let you swallow, get your thoughts together. Like this episode, share it, subscribe to it, do whatever you got to do, man. This is what it's about. We could have went on, all night and we wouldn't have a problem, but we just really like what's going on in each other's life. We support each other, and we just trying to support everybody out there that's doing similar things. So if you got anybody that you want to recommend, send them our way. We ready for them. But I'm gonna let Terry close us out with the Listen Son message.
Hey, so first off, to my uncle, my baby cousins, it's always good to see y'all. Love you guys. Miss you more than y'all know. If I could give a Listen Son shout to my son, and he's heard this his entire life, and to anybody else that would care to listen, is when you get into your 8th grade year, the clock starts ticking as early as the 8th grade. And I always told my boy, especially if you're in an athletic environment, the choices that you make over the next 4 years from 8th grade to 12th grade, and then if you're fortunate enough to go on and play collegiate athletics after that, maybe another 4 or 5 years, the choices that you make over the next 9 years are going to determine how you live the next 55 years. And that life is going to go by like a vapor. So maximize your time, make wise choices, look at the people who you hang with right now. And if they ain't doing ish, you ain't going to be doing ish either. So that's my word.
Thanks once again, my fraternity and sorority of listeners of Listen Son podcast. Please, women and men, please like, subscribe, and share. Continue to support our goals to connect untold special real life stories.